Hi. Thank you for coming to our workshop. I think that we're going to get started now. My name is Miriana. I am a senior consultant in AI at Capgemini Engineering. And I have the pleasure of being joined today by Olivier Barre, who is the CEO of GIFEN, and by Andy Vickers, who is the CTO of AI for Capgemini Engineering. During our workshop today, we are going to be discussing how artificial intelligence can unleash the power of engineering, how it can turn innovation into value and transform the way that engineering is done today in the nuclear industry. Before deep diving into AI with Andy, we're first going to have Olivier, who is going to set the picture, the context within which the nuclear industry operates, and which is important before we start considering how AI can start having a true impact in the industry.
Can I try this one? Yeah. So, hello everybody. I don't know if, is it good morning or good afternoon? I'm lost. Yeah. I think it's good afternoon, right? Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation to have a discussion on AI. And to be honest, when I was invited to take part in this workshop, I wondered what you wanted from me, because I'm definitely not the expert, and that was the point. What we expect as the nuclear industry from AI. And what I can share with you is that in the French nuclear industry, so as the way I was introduced, I am managing director of GIFEN, French Nuclear Industry Association. So we work with all the French nuclear companies. And when we worked on our strategic plan to organize our collective actions 6 months ago, we didn't really mention AI, to be honest. We mentioned digitalization, we mentioned performance, we mentioned building on resources, we mentioned partnerships, how to work better together. But we thought, well, AI may come later, we're not ready for that. And in the past few months, it was so fast that now we don't have a choice. We have to be interested in AI. And, but it's also very new and very complex to us. So we need to understand how AI can help us go faster and go further on our current activities, which mean how can our company be more efficient, how can they work together more efficiently, how can they improve their quality, and how can they work faster. That's basically what we need from AI. And the other thing is, the only takeaway I remember from earlier discussions on AI is that the first step to AI is data. So great, let's work on data. But how do we manage data, and how do we secure the ownership on data? All those are questions very vague in my mind. And as a representative of the nuclear industry, I'm very interested in what can be said about that and how we can be helped in our processes with AI.
Thank you, Olivier. So how can AI help? Well, I'm not the first person you will have heard this year tell you that AI is going to be transformative, and the pace is increasing rapidly for sure. Probably the best way to think about AI in this generation of AI, and AI is not new of course, is to think of it really like another utility. It's like electricity or gas. It's something that increasingly businesses are going to depend on, and it will be a business critical function for competitive delivery for sure. So AI delivery will have its own supply chain. Questions of sovereignty, security, business continuity around that, management of data, cyber security, all of those are increasingly well understood topics. I would say a year ago, a lot of those we were unsure how to manage them at scale. Now, actually providing sovereign, secure AI capability is effectively a solved problem. It can be done. Okay. But Why is AI going to be so transformative? What is it, and why are we talking about it so much? Well, the way a lot of people talk about it, you'd think it was magic. It's the new phrase that is brought to virtually every business problem. Let's throw some AI at that. Let's bring AI to this. And the reality, of course, it's not magic. It's just mathematics. It's mathematics of a certain type, a certain complexity, but it is just mathematics. And then as an engineering industry, we're used to bringing mathematics at scale to bring real-life value to engineering problems. We've been doing it for the best part of 100 years. We know how to do it. But with AI, we have to get past the label. We have to understand not just that it's mathematics, but what kind of mathematics. As an AI professional, the only way I can explain to you what the different types of AI are is to talk about cats. It's in the job description. Everything about AI is always about cats. There's really only 3 types of industrial AI that are talked about today. The traditional AI, what we would call discriminative AI, has been around for decades. This is AI that we would ask the question, is this a cat? It's a recognizer, it's a classifier. Last year, 2 years ago, we moved on from that with technology actually that's been around for some time, but it hit the mainstream with ChatGPT, the ability to generate new content. So rather than, is this a cat? Draw me a cat. We can produce new output. And the AI that's happening this year, agentic AI, and there'll be more that probably next year will probably be causal AI or contextual AI. Agentic AI is now the AI has fed my cat for me. The AI has some degree of autonomy. Now, what do those 3 kinds of AI mean for industry, for industrialization? Well, discriminative AI, you will undoubtedly have experienced that dozens of times today already. If you've looked at your phone, if you've accessed your bank account, if you've looked at your media, all of you will have been subject to that technology many, many times today. And often we no longer talk about that as AI because it just works. It doesn't really have that label anymore, even though that is what it is. Generative AI is interesting because the ability to generate new things, it hit the landscape with text, the ability to talk to ChatGPT. And of course, once you get text, you can get to software code, which is just text. But the reason why this is particularly transformative for industry is if you have the data, you talked about the data, if you have the data, you can generate anything. Chip design, process, manufacturing layout, materials, operating procedures. You can generate anything. And that's why this technology is particularly transformative. And agentic is going to be interesting because it brings whole new levels of automation, personalization, and also the ability to instruct AI simply by giving it questions and objectives. You no longer have to do the programming yourself. Now again, agentic is not new. All of you undoubtedly will have agents already in your homes. If you have a central heating system, you have an agent. You have something that has agency, autonomy, and acts with authority. And if you have a modern central heating system, you will have an AI agent in your house as well. And this is interesting for industry because it's going to lead to whole new ways of businesses working together. Rather than processes having to operate according to the way we have imagined them, well, the agents will work out mathematically the best way to do it. So that's why it's important. And if you look across the different sectors, the colors are a little bit skewy here, but you look actually the rate of adoption, I haven't got nuclear specific figures, but you can see generally industry is adopting this technology. Now, a lot of the progress so far is in where you'd expect it to be, in the most mature areas like chatbots and code generation, but you're seeing people starting to deploy this in wider engineering application as well. And again, if you look at some of our data, the rate of adoption of generative AI is now being matched by agentic AI. At the moment, when you see organizations adopting it, again, it's mostly either in off-the-shelf tooling or in chatbots. But again, it's coming, and as Olivier said, doing nothing is not an option now with this technology. It's going to affect the competitive landscape. competitive moats will disappear with those that are adopting it. But more positively, it gives a real opportunity to accelerate, do more with less, and particularly manage scarce knowledge, which of course is relevant for this sector. Now, originally a lot of the conversation about the application with AI was about finding use cases. But let me give you a different lens for this. The three lenses we often look at are using AI to better exploit the past. So knowledge management has moved really in the last year from being a 2-year capital-intensive project to now something that can be done in days and weeks. And if you are not using this technology to do knowledge management in your organization, you're leaving money on the table and you're missing out on a technology you could adopt today. Optimizing the present is really about doing things more quickly, either processes we already understand or new processes imagined by the mathematics. And defining the future, which I think is probably the most interesting, and actually is the first generation of generative technology, is about building new technical IP. And if you look at the first industrialized application of generative AI, it was in drug discovery. So using AI to generate new drugs. And that's interesting, I think, for nuclear, because we often worry, of course, about the safety-related aspects of the nuclear industry. There are similar, different scale, similar concerns in pharmaceutical discovery as well. So if that's what we can do with it, why is it so hard to adopt at scale? There are probably 3 different topics I'd pick. Firstly, there's the organizational aspects to this. The technology is pervasive. It requires IT, it requires cyber, it requires legal, operations, HR to be aligned to adopt it. This isn't something you can just put a sticker on the side of your organization. It's going to pervade. So that requires executive alignment, functional alignment. And you need to decide if the technology is core or context for you. Are you builders of AI systems or are you users of AI systems? You have no choice to be but users, but you might want to be builders as well. And if you want to build, you need to find a way to acquire and source the talent or the partnership ecosystem to build those systems. So there are organizational issues. Technically, there are precision and accuracy problems. The technology often looks like it's providing you with expert advice, but there is no intelligence there. It's just probability. It's just giving you the most likely next binary digit based on a huge mathematical model. Unfortunately, it sounds often like you're talking to a human, so we expect it to behave like a human, but it's behaving like a maths probabilistic machine. So you can't trust the results. So the solution there is not to just think about AI as the technology, but think about the broader system. Combine it with other types of technology to bring the reliability required in the more high demanding environments. And the last point, of course, is culture. Most organizations now probably have 5 generations working for them. If you're not using this technology now, you're going to find it hard to recruit the 22 and 23-year-olds because they've been using it for 2 or 3, 4, 5 years now. But you have to manage uncertainty and concern in organizations as they work out how to use the technology. But we're starting to see early applications of this for sure, and Mirana's going to give some examples.
Well, there are so many avenues for application of AI in the nuclear industry. You might already be aware of some, but if we step back and look at the entire life cycle that the nuclear industry goes through, we can see that all the way from the initial stages of design and architecture to finally the operation and maintenance and dismantling, there are many opportunities where AI can accelerate engineering, make the processes more efficient, all along making sure that safety remains paramount, because in the nuclear industry, of course, safety is the #1 constraint for very good reasons. And so if we look at design and architecture as one domain where AI has true potential, you can think of the fact that at the beginning of the design of new nuclear power plants, for example, you have to do basic design, detailed design. There's a lot of hard engineering work that takes place. and that can be accelerated through, for example, automatic verification of differences between 2D plans that are being created. So for example, you might be asked to modify one of the 2D plans to include new constraints. Well, today our engineers spend time usually manually verifying that the modifications have been made, and this can take up to half an hour to compare two 2D plans. But with the use of classical AI, and I'll go back to the point of classical AI, we can actually accelerate this process and compare 2D diagrams in a matter of a few minutes. Why did I mention classical AI? Well, Andy, you've made an excellent introduction of agentic, of generative AI, and you've mentioned the need for precision and accuracy in the applications in the nuclear industry. Well, this is one of the approaches that we have, which is to combine all different types of AI, generative, agentic, and classical AI. So this could be computer vision, more classical machine learning, combining it with mechanistic approaches and expert rules, for example, to arrive at solutions that have the required level of accuracy. And that is one of the key requirements for many applications in the nuclear industry. Now, we can also use AI to accelerate the demonstration of compliance. The nuclear industry has to generate long safety reports to demonstrate that they comply with the regulatory authorities, that their operations are safe. This is something that takes a lot of time and that is prone to human error. With the use of generative AI and something that is called knowledge graphs, we can obtain solutions, we can generate safety reports more quickly by accelerating the search of technical documentation that corresponds to particular requirements that might have been modified, for example, by the regulatory authorities. We can also use AI to accelerate the management of contracts. The nuclear industry works with many contractors, subcontractors, with many different types of templates of contracts that are used. Generative AI, agentic AI has a role in this domain as well. Quickly, I would like to mention that for the building and assembling, the monitoring of quality, we can think of the use of AI, such as computer vision, which can be used to identify defects in equipment, which can be used, for example, to categorize different types of radioactive waste when we're at the point of preparing the radioactive waste for their long-term storage. And if we go to the stage of operation and maintenance, yet again, there are many opportunities for the use of AI. One of them is the use of generative and agentic AI to more quickly find the technical information that is required, for example, to update 2D plans or 3D models, to verify, for example, the conformity between the as-built and as-designed documentation. Now, I'd like to give you a very concrete example. And this example is from an example of the use of AI for operation and maintenance. Its focus is on the efficient management of incidents. And the example that I took here is from a client who works in the aerospace industry. So it is not the nuclear industry, but I will make a link in a few minutes to the nuclear industry. This is a major player in the aviation industry, produces airplanes. And every year they have to handle 200,000 technical requests, which they receive from airplane companies. They receive this many technical requests, and this amounts to 500 million euros that they spend annually to propose solutions so that the airplane companies can fix the airplanes and so that they are operational. Well, this organization wanted to accelerate the handling of technical requests. And here you can think of nuclear industry already because this is linked to maintenance requests, for example, or preparation of maintenance interventions. And the way that the organization worked on accelerating the handling of technical requests was by using generative AI and something that is called knowledge graphs, with a startup that is called Curiosity and with CAPGEMINI. And so what what we managed to do was to create a platform which allows a technical operator to receive a new incident request and to link it immediately to all of the similar past cases. And so that's the key. You're receiving a new incident. This is a problem that probably occurred before on the same plane, but was reported by a different airplane company. But the operator might not be aware because they didn't handle the previous request. Well, this platform allows you to immediately visualize similar past cases with the attached documentation. Generative AI can then summarize all of the related documentation and actually also start drafting the response so that the operator of the company is able to more quickly propose the solution based on the knowledge that exists in the resolutions of the past incidents. Now, of course, everything is submitted to the validation of the expert. The expert, the technician, will validate that this is the correct way to resolve the problem. And what is interesting is that the solution that was implemented by our client doesn't use only generative AI, but also uses something called knowledge graphs, which allows them to structure data that is both structured and unstructured, and to represent it in a big knowledge graph that has 400 million entities, 400 million nodes, which have billions of connections between them, and which allows the past similar cases to be surfaced with a lot more precision than if we were using only generative AI. So the increase in accuracy is from 20% to 70% that you will find similar cases in the top 10 suggestions of this platform. Everything runs on a server at the client site, so it is not on the cloud. And because it runs on the server, the data is protected, the confidentiality is taken care of, and the client is able to have responses quickly because everything runs in working memory. To make a quick link to the nuclear industry, you can imagine using this kind of a solution for the drafting of safety reports, or to, for example, surface examples of past incidents which occurred at a nuclear power plant in order to prepare a future intervention. This is one example that I hope you find inspiring. And now I would like to turn it to Olivier, who is going to tell us a bit more about the types of barriers and challenges that exist in the nuclear industry and that would need to be overcome in order for the nuclear industry to embrace AI at a higher level and at scale.
Thank you, yes. Well, there are a couple of challenges that may be specific to our industry that come to mind. One is, obviously, we need to make safety demonstrations that are built on, studies and trusting studies and making demonstration to authorities. Question is, how can we use those new tools to improve and to accelerate or to simplify those demonstrations? And that's key to us because, of course, the idea is not only to hide a few tools because they are trendy, but they have to build that trust. Second is we're talking about artificial intelligence, and my understanding is that it leads to automation or it leads to some kind of assistance to humans. So how can we use both? And in the first case, when we increase automation, how can we develop and how can we transfer skills of humans? I understand that in some companies, people are not allowed to use AI so that they develop their own skills. And I remember, for instance, at the beginning of automation, or at the beginning of digitalization in control rooms in reactors, there were studies and there were discussions about how far to push automation, because when you push automation, you may lead operators not to think about what they're doing and losing experience. So how to deal with that tool as an assistance and as enhancer of skills rather than skill destructor, I would say. So that's a key question for us in terms of skills development. And third, we are an industry that deals with quite a certain degree of complexity. The objects that we are working on are complex, our organizations are complex, our projects are very long, so that induces some complexity. And how can AI help process complexity and not just, you know, increase the complexity or make us tolerate more complexity with just new tools? How can it simplify our task? Those are the main challenges, I would say. Trust and compliance with the safety culture. Second is consistency with skills development and skills transfer. And third, how not to contribute to more and more complexity, but rather how to contribute to simplifying processes. That would be the three things I would mention.
And then just a final word as we wrap up. Thank you, Olivier. In terms of the trust, the key there is to view the AI as part of a system, not to try and do everything in the AI. We're increasingly now how to build systems like that. I think that's the strategy for that. The second topic second topic was your three. Skills development transfer. The role of this in knowledge management, again, is effectively a solved problem, particularly for harnessing and reusing and helping people know things more quickly, both in an IT environment and out in the field with edge devices. All of that is increasingly solved now. And the third one was about simplification. I think the main thing we've learned is we've put this technology in the hands of all, how many are we? 370,000 members of our business all have access to this. And we find we learn a lot from allowing people to play. They find the simplicity. So as my final word for everyone, I think the key takeaway for me is become AI enabled. The only way to learn how to use this is to play with it, and then your journey will be bold and exciting. Thank you.